So, hello there, Tanya.
Hi, David.
How you doing?
I'm very good. I still feel like it's the morning, but I realize it's already 2 o'clock in Amsterdam. So,
Good. So, tell me about your awakening.
yeah, I had three special experiences um, in my life. They were all different, and they all brought me something. What exactly it brought to me? Um, like 20 years ago, I was really very enthusiastic about working together with shamans, and that is one of my deepest inspirations. And during the time when I was facilitating a very beautiful hiking tour with on the sacred places in some South Siberia, working with the energy, with the people together, working with trance. After a very beautiful time of probably 2 weeks,
With Siberian,
I felt a little bit like
Siberian
in Siberian Altai.
drum.
Yeah, yeah, with Siberian shamanism. Yeah, people from Siberia. Well, they're actually more into the Lamaism, but they're shamans.
Wow.
So after this very beautiful time with a lot of energy work, a lot of deep experiences, I felt after that, I felt quite weird to come back at home. And after one of warming up trance dance, I sometimes use to feel, alive. Um, I felt I cannot contain this energy. Like the whole world was shifting. I don't know, that we all know about similarities of Kundalini rising or, awakening process and some kind of not being able to contain this energy was a little bit scary for me. Nobody knows what is that. I couldn't recognize it. I felt really very awkward and tuning into my body during few days. The only thing I could do is drumming, walking in the woods in the nature and dancing. So that was the only state when I felt, well, there's a harmony between inner space and outer space. I'm normal, Actually, my special experience, as I call it, I felt, drumming kind of saved me from shamanic illness. This is how they called it, the shamans. The only thing they could advise to me is going, into the woods and drumming. So this is what I did, and I really what I discovered is that free movements, free dance, free allowing the energy, allowing the body move freely is really a great protection of the nervous system.
From what? From from the overload of the Kundalini.
From overload, from some kind of burning, because it felt a little bit awkward. I didn't feel, I couldn't perceive reality quite, um, realistic. There was something always shifting. So the door between the realities, the door between two different perceptions wasn't opening and closing when I wanted. So, well, yeah, during 3 days, I was really only drumming and dancing. And after that, I felt, okay, now this energy is really in my body. I feel grounded. But still, everything felt different since. Everything felt different.
So you had some sort of breakthrough with the 3 days in the wilderness that you gifted yourself to integrate this burning Kundalini type awakening energy.
And what I could say is that in this case, the Kundalini rising was actually from ups, because I know some people experiencing Kundalini rising from down, but the first times it was this kind of energy. What I felt after that the door between the realities, I can open and close easily from the freedom of my choice.
Would you call that like I've heard it called the shaman's tear, and so during shamanic work and maybe early life trauma, or there was something that you were either born with, or there's like a tear in the psyche, and the energies between this world and the other worlds can become very confusing and very merged. And then are you saying that you started to develop an understanding of how to hold this gateway open consciously between this world and the other realms?
Actually, it's both, David. The being an experience of moving and play, well, not really playing, because I really felt I have to do something. It was like working with the energy, working with my body in a different way. It was both, and at the same time, while moving, and after that, having my new body, like expanded body, expanded awareness, I really could understand, go into the perception of the reality, how the data of my overloaded nerve system can change the perception. So what we see, what I saw, how I saw the energy moving, the world moving, is all depending on the state of my nerve system, my sensory system.
And it came down, and so this energy came down from above, into the body, and then when she finished the drumming and the dancing, it kind of rooted, and it's at that point when you felt, now I kind of understand what's going on.
Exactly. Once I felt it in my pelvis, once I felt it, I can really feel grounded, being on earth, in my legs, like being one with the earth. I could feel, okay, something is changing. This is new body. So there was some kind of integration going really into the material, into the body. Yeah.
And did you have any techniques in terms of drumming or any particular type of dancing? Any, as this energy came and rooted through you into the earth, was there anything that you were guided to specifically do, or was it just kind of being with it in the moment and, just following whatever you needed to do in that moment?
It is all experiential, of course. It was an experiment. It was an experience. What I felt was allowing my body and trusting my body to find a way to be crazy.
I think that's such an important word, like giving yourself permission to go crazy.
Absolutely, because this is how I felt with my perception. The world was fluid. It was like I saw the contour, it wasn't psychosis or something, but there was something weird with perception. So I really wanted to feel it also, the whole my body involved, involved with that. And while being crazy and moving wildly, actually what my body did was to find new rhythm. So the freedom and the rhythm, which is organizing, structuring, or mesmerizing, some kind of body trance movements. That was actually the what the body did to find new rhythm, also with the drumming.
If you think that's really fascinating, like on the mental health field, because you mentioned, it wasn't psychosis, but I think it becomes psychosis in some cases when you resist this process, when the body is not prepared, not ready, full of perhaps toxins, drugs, too much karma from ancestral and personal history of layering. One can't receive that energy, and instead one is perpetuated in that state of psychosis.
Exactly.
That's what I hear a lot with people who resist the influx of what is
Yeah.
fundamentally a death
Yeah.
of this way of being. You know, perhaps the ego, correct me if I'm wrong, the ego goes into a state of absolute apoplexy, stroke psychosis, when it's dying, it's being subsumed by a greater love, a greater force, a greater power of source coming in and
Yeah, exactly.
folding
And
and
speaking in the
engulfing.
yogic terms, it's very interesting you talk about it, because I wanted to share something about what it did to me after that, and how integrated in
Yeah,
my
let's move on to that.
experience.
Great.
But from shamanic point of view, how they describe it is this shape shifting we make, the making choice to step over into the other reality, has to be a choice. When you're just suddenly being there, you have to learn how to move there, to open and close the door. This is the model of the shamans. In the yogic way of description of Kundalini rising, of course, there could be two different directions, from up or from bottom. In yogic description of this process, they say the higher center is more open than the lower one. And what you're describing about the ego is actual resistance in the solar plexus, while the higher center, third eye or just the crown, is way too open,
Yes, that's very
not
common
being
in
able to.
yoga. That's so common when we're
Yeah,
like top, we call it like top heavy, or, you know, the
yeah,
bottom is not open at all and someone is operating out of the, you know, the crown, the third eye,
yeah,
perhaps the
yeah,
heart,
yeah,
but not really accessing these deeper, more, you know, the
yeah,
sort of crazy centers, really, the lower centers, which force
yeah,
all that energy into overload on the
yeah,
nervous system in the higher part of the body.
exactly. And in a yogic way, they talk about this distance of 10 centimeter from the solar plexus to the heart. This is actually the hell of transformation, when you can go through from the lower triangle to the higher triangle. You
The
can be
gateway.
integrated
Yeah.
in a deeper way. So this resonates with the description of psychotic states and Kundalini rising. Yeah. So the whole resistance is happening here, actually.
Mm. So it's, in a way, for anyone listening, it's seeing that going crazy, feeling crazy is a sign that there's an aspect of themselves that is either blocked or not able to direct the energy where it wants to go, and it's that discomfort of relaxing into those crazy making states. Would you say that it's the either finding an outlet that opens you up without forcing it? Because I think
That's
this is
very,
what
very
you're talking about.
interesting. Yeah, how it's happening. Well, of course, resistance never works, but to experience this process as resistance, I wouldn't do it too. It is a journey, and to go through something, you have to learn it, to meet it.
Sorry, say that
So to
again.
meet resistance,
Yes.
to go through something, you have to learn what is it. You have to meet it to meet it. So
Yeah.
when you're meeting your resistance, it is not resistance anymore. You're just trying to integrate something which wasn't comfortable, which you didn't know, or not didn't meet yet.
Yeah.
But yeah, certainly it's not resistance. It's more, how do you say, to trying to find a new language to communicate with that.
And of
Yeah,
course, that language is a universal language. It's beyond
exactly,
the perhaps narrow confines of
exactly.
our language, which the English language is not an awakened language, say like the old
Yeah,
root languages that
yeah,
were God, almost this kind of source state given to us. And so they have a way of, you know, the old scriptures, the Vedic texts, they can
yeah,
almost literally act as a container for the wording and the energetics of
yeah,
awakened states and stories told and
exactly.
sounds made from awakened states. So it's no surprise that sometimes the Germanic or English, these languages don't give us a vocabulary within which to express and transmit through sound these energetics.
No.
What was
Yeah, unfortunately, culturally, we don't have this language in English, but well, mystical experiences are, being translated in poetry and ecstatic explanations of the existence or in other traditions. But yeah, it's very difficult to find the right words.
So you mentioned the word ecstatic, and I'm wondering, like, following this drumming, integrating dancing experience, what ensued in the coming weeks and months after that?
In the shamanic tradition, there is a special word for it. It's called tinbura. And tinbura is the ecstatic state where everything is just praising and singing the existence as it is.
I can relate to that one.
So, yeah, well, while I was allowing myself being crazy and, drumming and doing weird things and talking rubbish and dancing, however, I never felt that complete as that whole as in that experience.
Yeah.
In that experience, what I needed was to be grounded. So there was, ecstasy for me is more opening up and feeling total connectedness with everything what is alive or want to become, expressed. And in that special experience with after the shamanic practices, I didn't feel that. I felt one with the earth. I felt one with other realities, other rhythms, other languages.
So the partial awakening in some respects.
Yeah, I think it's just different ways of awakening different energies. Well, I hate to use that word, E-word, that often, but I felt like I was introduced to some parts of my being which I didn't know yet. And I had to make it cozy, like being at home there.
Yes, yes.
That was different than ecstatic state, which the other experience 15 years later was during the yogic retreat. And that was more like ecstatic state, as you mentioned.
That was a Kundalini yoga retreat, was it?
Yeah. I was in the
founder. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I followed beautiful course of Kundalini yoga mastery training when Yogi Bhajan was alive. So it was in New Mexico with Yogi Bhajan, with a bunch of beautiful people doing yoga and meditating all together, like 16 hours in a day. And a 2.5 hour classical meditation with Yogi Bhajan. This is something. You start to see weird dreams, you're, walking, realizing very, very interesting things about your connection with your children, with your system, with your family. There's a lot of things, subtle energy work, but also like very earthy work. So after this retreat, after this training, the last days, I felt so full of energy in a very soft and very gentle way. So I didn't need any food. So I guess 3 or 4 days I was just drinking juice and walking around, enjoying the sun and the beauty of New Mexico nature. And after one meditation, suddenly something was shifted and I experienced, I guess it was some kind of soft introduction to the awakening or ecstatic experience. And the beauty of it was that I didn't feel crazy. I felt totally one with the sound and vibration, which had color, or color had vibration as a sound, like one sense, eyes and ears. And there was beautiful state of all the colors were very bright, and the music of the reality was just amazing. Well, I know it sounds crazy again, but it was very happy craziness.
It doesn't sound crazy to me. It sounds,
I know, but I'm not joking because, oh my God, I'm people I don't know, and this weird woman, talking interesting. Um, but the state of opening the senses in a very harmonious way after the profound yoga training was totally different. It was the state when I felt that every word, every thought I feel, I can, express what comes up was a poetry. It was a really celebration, and walking around, looking at the flowers, I could recognize what plant is good for. What is a plant good for? Like every plant talked to me as what kind of medicine is it?
No
I
way.
could talk to the nature. Yeah, it was like, oh my God, wow, this is like a party. Being in the nature, everybody is like alive, everybody is high, I'm here, and I'm a golden root, for example, or something like that. So it was really beautiful. I don't remember anymore what they told, but I do remember the colors, and I do remember that by looking at the plant, I could really see what is it good for. So probably it's also other state of ecstatic awareness and a few moments of being fully connected to the knowledge of things, nature of things, something like that.
And how long did that stay with you, and how has it stayed with you?
It was well, it was more about 1.5 days, something like about 2 days. The same way, I didn't feel weird before and after. It was very organic. It was a celebration of kind of, expanded state of being one, and also feeling about talking about ecstasy. Total connectedness didn't mean for me to be totally blissed out. I felt my sadness, I felt my raw places, but being fully connected to these places, this is what I call ecstasy, ecstatic states. So being totally in your own drama and pain and being fully connected to it, you can say that you are totally ecstatic. Yeah.
Isn't that, when you say you being in your drama and pain and being totally connected to it, but when people haven't had aren't in that higher state, it's not ecstatic for them, it's torture. How is this different?
It's a very good question. I don't know how it works in the body. For me, making the movement in my body to allow, to make a choice to embrace everything what I am in the moment, and not to resist to this painful state or painful thought or painful feeling of sadness, or feeling totally how we feel sometimes. When I'm allowing myself to feel it fully, I feel my system is relaxing, and I feel some kind of liberation, like relief.
Yes, I see.
And then the opening is just, then it's just flowing, and you feel, okay, so this is what it is, and I feel fucking very, very, very good about it, because this is what I am.
Yes, so just noticing that sort of egoic resistant states or emotional states, those are this, beneath them and beyond them is a deeper resonance of connection to source.
Connection to your nature, connection to embracing yourself in that moment from the place of being agreed with whatever it is, like facing. It's not like a soft, like compassionate, like Mary embracement, but it's more like a warrior embracement when you can hold it.
And so where did that lead to? What was the, what was that period of your life? What happened in the follow-up to that in your life?
Right after my yoga training, I experienced very deep crisis. Everything was changed within a few months. I couldn't do work I didn't, well, not really liked, or it wasn't that good for me to be a psychosocial worker, like in, official system. So I had really to give it up and to start my practice to do and to be what I am.
Mm. And when was that?
It was in 2003, 15 years ago.
So you mentioned 3 experiences, and so far you've talked about 2. Have we missed one?
Well, I guess 2 shamanic experiences are kind of similar. But the first one, I couldn't really find the right way to embody it and then to integrate it in a being very aware. But the second time, it was quite close to one to each other. So I'm talking about it as shamanic experience.
Mm. And you mentioned there were 3 at the beginning. Is there another one, another experience?
Yeah, there were 2 shamanic experiences.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, and one yogic one, which was totally soft but very high ecstatic state when I could really embrace it without doing any, just allowing it.
So how are these woven into your life today? How have you integrated? What has been the integration process over the last 12 years?
I don't think I was very aware of being conscious and integrating of these experiences until you asked me about it. And then I noticed that my work with the people was changed after that by knowing my own inner landscape and not being afraid of it. And even if there are some new places, but the knowledge is there that I can find the way to myself back. I recognize that I'm not afraid of very angry or very scared people anymore. I can work with them. And because I'm also facilitating retreats and intensives, in a few cases where people couldn't contain energy, having some kind of Kundalini rising or a state where they couldn't contain energy, I can bring these people back. I can feel where they are, I can help them. So, yeah, this is actually the most outcome of it. But for myself, for my own process, for my life, I feel more comfortable to have all ups and all downs we have. And sometimes I'm really allowing myself to feel the bottom of period, times when you feel, okay, I really don't know what is it about. And, I feel maybe depressed, or maybe I feel totally, I don't know any direction. I don't know anymore. But those moments, I started actually to love it instead of resisting. There is no judgment anymore why it's happening and why I have it. It's just an understanding that the life is a cycle, and creative process of life is also cycle, and you cannot be productive without being on the bottom of your suffering. So the moments of suffering are totally changed for me. Yeah.
Impressive. So what work do you do today? Tell me a bit more about how this is all come together in your current work.
I work with traumas. I work with a body. I work with sexuality. So having sessions one-to-one, we can go to any place where the pain is stored, or the place where somebody has left the experience, and I can be more comfortable and how to say it really opens something for me to stay in shared human experience. So the work I'm doing is a combination of one-to-one work about sexuality and deep, woundings and patterns we all inherit, like generationally. And I'm leading retreats and co-creating workshops with other people about embodiment, erotic empowerment, and ancestral healing. Yeah.
Mm. And do they all happen in the same workshop, or are they 3 different workshops?
They're different workshops. Yeah. Well, my passion is my training. I followed by Deborah Anapol, and this is the work which called pelvic heart integration. It is actually sexual healing through the body, with like profound psychotherapy with great elements of sexual shamanism, tantric energies, and collective healing.
Wow. So that sounds quite an unusual combination. So we've got a mixture of psychotherapy, sexual healing, and shamanism.
Yes, exactly.
Because what kind of learnings do you have from the neo-tantra world that isn't grounded in an ethical framework, shall we say, that perhaps psychotherapy lends it?
I learned what is not good for me. I learned where is my no. I learned where is my compassion, and I learned that I'm allowed to have my judgments.
I mean, for those that are watching, what Tanya and I are touching upon is perhaps the laissez-faire frameworks of neo-tantra trainings that lack perhaps some of the integrated aspects of mature psyche, accountability in holding, the inevitability of power dynamics in leadership, when in those spaces where we're talking about sexual healing, mental healing with the psychotherapy and shamanic energy, we're talking very powerful forces. I mean, what lessons have you had in those areas that distinguish perhaps your work?
Well, there is a big difference between diving into the unknown tantric spaces with no limits, no boundaries in a classical way, where is a tradition, where is a protection, where is some guidance, and experiential experience and experiments of neo-sexuality. I don't call it neo-tantra because it's not a tantra for me. It is erotic practices in new way experiments. It is very hard for me to see how can people dive into the places where is no warranty for safety.
Sorry, I didn't catch that. Well, there's
no warranty for safety, for safe place.
Yes, okay, no guarantee, no safety.
So this is for me a big thing about neo-tantra, or exploring new structures, new way of people play, people evolve, people develop something. I can understand that, but by developing new things, you're exposed because you don't know what is safe, what is not safe. So it is kind of tricky place, because there is a mixture of personal development, spiritual practices, and therapy. And when it's all mixed together, without realization, as we are, coming to some place, I'm a dummy. I don't know who I can trust. I'm just, being there with my questions. It is really difficult to contain yourself where somebody is promising to hold the space, and it cannot happen when it is a human experiment. So I think people really have to take more responsibility about power of privilege, of leading the workshops, teaching something, being responsible, owning responsibilities of what they're unlocking, and lack of trauma knowledge is the main thing which I'm really very, very aware of, because it happens a lot of times when people go into the, trauma place, freeze state, freeze, dissociation, and people don't know how to help facilitators. And this is really very, very bad. It is re-traumatizing. It is, I think it's a very big spiritual trauma of somebody who goes with the hope to solve something, to evolve something, and being left in very weird state or place. And I guess it is also responsibility of all of us when we're participating in something, really to see and to check how do you feel there. If you don't feel safe, you just don't do it. And most biggest mistake we make is to trust somebody because he's on a place with all the transference and counterference, while we're hoping if he knows something or she knows something, a bit of that. A projection, it's like a God who knows everything. There is a projection.
How does what you do hold a safe framework around trauma? Tell me about the trauma framework and the holding framework of the modality that you now have developed and have trained in.
Yeah, the more I work with the modalities where sexuality is being involved, the more I learn to slow down and actually don't do anything and just hold the space and being totally present. For me, safety is being present more than doing anything. And being present and slowing down, it creates the space where there's a lot of trust in body awareness and body wisdom. So the body comes up with reactions or movements or opening something up, and we're just following it while holding the space. This is actually paying attention to very little, very subtle data of the nerve system, which can be shifted or rewired to the new islands, little islands of safety. When a person experiences the moment of safety, hopefully there will be a few more, and there will be more ground of safe spaces, moving very slow.
So that differs quite there's quite an extreme difference between what you've just described and this big drama sort of catharsis
exactly
process where there's an emphasis on orgasm, there's an emphasis on cathartic expression, emoting without this presence, without this slowing down, without this holding. Is that kind of, in a very rough nutshell, what we're talking about here, the primary differences?
Yeah. It is a big difference, David. It is a very big difference when you are deciding to go into the process of healing and having a lot of patience and compassion to your own process. It's one thing. Going into the group, there are so many layers of our desires, what we want to find there in us or sharing with the others. It is a desire to be big in your emotional expression because we're all suppressed. And it is very big release because, we're all, dumping a lot of emotional discomfort in us. And the place where the group is going crazy, it's a safe place just to release it. But it has nothing to do with healing. It has nothing to do with releasing the trauma. It is creating experience of connecting on this high emotional level of, being together. Yeah.
And so it literally is like almost like chasing the ace, rushing to get the highs and the power uplift, almost trampling on all the delicate circuitry, all the data that would otherwise provide you with a much perhaps less exciting, less explosive, less dramatic,
Exactly.
but it would
Exactly.
actually lead you into a much more, for my training, like organismic
Yeah.
sort of unfolding that's not being literally supercharged with a pile driver behind it, with a piston of
Yeah.
the
I guess we're all, in some sense, addicted to special effects. Special effects, because the life is not rich enough with emotional experiences. And also, mistake we make is that if I have a strong experience, it does shift something. It is not. It is just a strong experience. This is the way, when you can recognize somebody comes back from the festival or a Neo Tantra workshop or the harmonic session or whatever tantric session, say, I had such a big experience. That's good, big. But what's next? Where is your laundry?
It very much reminds me of the saying before enlightenment: chopping wood, carrying water, doing laundry. After
Yeah,
enlightenment, chopping wood, carrying water, doing
exactly.
laundry. And I see this a lot in the plant medicine work that people do as well. It's
Yeah,
the mistake that the plant medicine is the awakening, the juice of awakening, whereas my understanding is that the plant medicine is an ally to show you
exactly.
where your connection to your source is, but not to replace your connection to your own source, your own truth, with the
Exactly.
medicina, with the high that the natural highs of the plant kingdom can also come in and subsume somebody, can possess somebody, and make them just keep wanting more and more medicine, more and more. The
Yeah,
vomiting, purging workshops that I
yeah,
see a lot of,
yeah,
and almost that act of purging becomes, oh, I can finally feel that connection to source when I'm purging, and in the respite after the purge, and the peace and the journeys and sometimes the sort of psychic journeys people go on. I honestly see that that's a replacement for that,
yeah,
like you say, when the natural things unlock. And sometimes plant medicine can help you unlock those, those binds, those ancestral ties that we just can't access through our
yeah,
own ways or our own current worldly ways. But it's when it replaces
yeah,
the connection to source that it's just like catharsis, or I think a more
exactly.
accurate word for catharsis that's unnatural is called abreaction. And abreaction is a kind of, is an inauthentic, pushed catharsis.
Mm-hmm.
These are ways, like you say, that the addict in us, the
Mm-hmm.
ego, is obsessed with trying to avoid that place inside that just is so dull, so boring, so painful, so so difficult to embody through. And at the very beginning of this conversation, you talked about that place where we need to embody through the muck,
Yeah,
through through the gutter of our psyches, is
yeah,
like literally a toxic, or like a layer of scum. And as we get closer and closer to awakening, that scum gets more and more in our face. And so there's a
mm-hmm.
temptation to want abreaction, intense catharsis, plant medicine, things that will just like blast it out.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is very subtle. This is very subtle. This is very simple in the same way, at the same time, very complicated. Our urge for surrender, our universal place of child, saying, oh, fuck, I really don't know anything. Everything is better than where I am. Show me where I am. This is a place of total surrender prayer, or universal deepest trust we can have in something, a sacred plant, or bigger intelligence or our parents, where somebody knows more than us. But giving your power away of realizing where you are and what you want, what is your intention in this journey, is very different dynamic. And when people are giving power or placing power there without realization that they have a choice, they can navigate it, they can be aware of their journey, traveling with a plant medicine, it really can make a shift. And this is a big disturbance in the West, because in original traditional setting in Amazon, people sitting together, respecting the plant, going into their own process, being silent, containing themselves. And this is all being gone, and plant medicine indeed is very tired because it's being abused, it's being misused in unsafe environment. As you say, it can turn into some kind of entities which are not healthy for us, because it's not being contained within the proper structure of holding the space and knowing where we are, what we're doing. Yeah, so it's very complicated. And yes, after the enlightenment, doing laundering is the most important thing.
And you said knowing where we are and what we're doing. And I think that's the key. As we draw this conversation to a close, I know that for me, it's the breath in the body.
Absolutely.
Even if I'm on a big psychotic trip, it's the breath and the body, and knowing where I am.
Exactly.
Is the ultimate empowerment of bringing source or soul in and around me, and exploring any places within my body and in my other realities where my presence is not at home, is my way. And any last thoughts from you on that, in terms of knowing where you are and what you're doing?
I love your sharing right now. My body, I feel it. It's like, I feel very soft and very quiet and very, very kind of, there is a stillness in it. Yeah. Again, it's very difficult to find the right words to describe what is the right way to be alive in a body. But yeah, the body is the gate. The body is the gate for me. It's such a sacred space, such a big wisdom and innocence of the truth of the moment. Even if we don't hear anything, listening, I'm still aware that I am breathing and I'm not alone. And well, it is in the body where we can really experience the, like spirituality in a nutshell is like, yeah, you are never alone. The infinity now has a relationship with you. Here.
Yes.
Here.
Cartesian axis. Yeah, we are right in the center where
and reality
find you.
Yeah.
And then if you're here and present and in your body and in reality now, then the universe comes around you, and the eternal source is present within you.
Yeah. So this is breathing into the reality, into the relationship with it.
Very underrated. But there's so many goodies out there. You can blast yourself to kingdom come.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, it's been great chatting with you, Tanya. Thank you so much for your...
Thank you, David. It is really, really beautiful day to share it. Thank you.